Good morning, good morning. It's an important day. Today is June 20th and it's an important day. And we're going to talk about it a little bit later of why today is so important. But right now I just got back from a box recovery mission. Pick some boxes up. We're sorting through all the corn returns and making sure that we've got everything palletized by variety, lot numbers, all that kind of stuff. So we know what we've got here. We got all this corn sorted, organized by variety, separated lot numbers out, counted everything up, made sure that the inventory physically here matches the inventory on our computer system. It does, and that's a good day when everything matches like it's supposed to, so we're really happy with that. Somebody asked me in yesterday's video, what happens to the treated corn that gets returned? Well, so all this corn is going to go back to Golden Harvest, back to their warehouses, and they will store it. They will store this corn and sell it again next year. It will be germ tested, and some of it may be rebagged if necessary, and retagged and sold next year as corn. Corn, as long as the climate control, the environment that it's stored in is semi-climate controlled, stores and keeps just fine for next year. So it will be fine. That's what happens with all of the corn that we return. Now, this is more corn than I would like to have returned, but for the amount that I'm running through here, this is all of mine and the warehouse account that I have returns. In fact, all but 13 bags of it is the warehouse account. So not much of it was from stuff that I actually sold. But yeah, it's more than I would like to see, but for the amount that we're running, it's really not that big a deal. Now, we do here have some treated paper bags of soybeans. Soybeans are different. So soybeans will not store from one year to the next. They have the risk of the germination going bad, or they won't grow next year. Now, that's not always the case. Some people do carry over soybeans, but for the most part, seed companies will not store beans from year to year. And so any treated paper bags, I am allowed to return a small percentage, but they will not store them and sell them next year. They will get dumped, except for they don't get dumped. They get disposed of, and they're technically considered a hazardous waste because of the treatment on them. That's why we try and limit the amount of treated soybeans that we have left at the end of the year. Now, treated paper bags are I only bring treated beans in paper bags, company treated, because obviously I have that seed treater over there, and I can treat my own when they're in boxes. So we don't usually have a lot of that. Whatever we think we need for in season, for guys doing replant, for the little bit people finishing up, we don't have a lot there. I think there's 44 of one variety and 8 or 9 of another variety. It's not a lot. It's not a big deal. That's well within my percentage that I'm allowed to return, so no big deal. Now, most of these boxes here are empties, but we do have a few. This row, a couple over there that are still full. Now, most of them are full of untreated soybeans. Well, untreated soybeans are just soybeans. They can be sold as grain, and so we're not ready to do that yet, but after we're done with double crops, done with replants, we know we don't need any more beans, I'll put those into a semi-truck and haul them to our local elevator and sell them as grain. So that's what happens with the rest of those. Now, the one kind of exception to that is this box right here is treated. I treated it through my treater, and the customer had extra, didn't use that one, so we have a treated box of beans there that needs to get used up somewhere. Okay, what do we do with those? Well, hopefully we can find somewhere to use it. Either somebody needs some more replant beans, which I don't really want that to be the case, but if somebody does, that box is the first thing I'm going to try and use, right? That or some of the treated paper bags to use them up. If some double crop beans get put in the ground, which if I plant some double crop beans, I'll use that box. I will plant them and use those first, and then if I need more, we'll use some of the boxes of untreated beans or whatever. We'll worry about that later. Worst case scenario is that whoever ordered them initially has to keep them for next year. Now, I just said you can't keep beans from year to year. Well, you can. They're just at a risk of the germ going bad. And so we When we sell treated beans, it is with the understanding that they are not returnable, but we'll do everything we can to move them and to get them used up so that you don't have to store them until next year. So that particular customer just had that one box left over, and I'm fairly confident I'm going to plant some double crop beans. So I said, bring them back here. If for some reason we don't, they're yours, but we'll do our best and I'll try and use them up. Now I have another customer that had an extra box of treated beans, and he didn't even want me to take them. He's like, no, I'm just going to keep them for next year. Okay, that's fine. So yeah, that's what happens with the extra seed at the end of the year, leftover stuff. Now, we need to go find a bean field so we can talk about soybeans. All right, we are in a bean field, and I just got done saying a little bit ago that today is a very, very important day for soybeans. Why is that? Well, today is June 20th, and this year, June 20th, is the summer solstice. It happens tonight at like 10:45 p.m., something like that. But today is the longest day of the year. Why do we care for soybeans? Well, let's think about it. What do soybeans do? What is a soybean plant's only job in its entire life to do? Make new soybeans, right? Yes. Their job is to reproduce, to grow a big plant and put new soybeans on. How do they do that? Well, they do that by taking up water and nutrients from our soil through their roots and using energy from the sunlight that is gathered through their little solar panel leaves here through a process called photosynthesis to turn those water and nutrients into sugars and carbohydrates and things that the plants can use in order to grow and divide cells and to eventually begin their reproductive stages and flower and then produce seeds. And so we need these little soybean solar panels here to soak up as much sunlight as possible. Now, unfortunately, it's pretty cloudy today, so we're not getting direct bright sunlight, but they are still working and, doing photosynthesis. So the longer the length of day, the more sunlight that our beans get to absorb. Happens to be today. Now, as we work back towards the fall, the days start getting gradually shorter and shorter and shorter. And so what we want to happen is to have as little sunlight as possible hitting the ground from June 21st on. And so ideally, we would be fully canopied. Now, you can look and you can still see down these rows and see bare ground. We're not fully canopied. In fact, I found an app on my phone that you can take a picture of your crops, and it will analyze green tissue versus the ground and stuff and give you a percent cover of it. And here's a little screenshot of what that app said. And basically right in this spot here, we're sitting at about 25% canopy. I would say that's about right looking at it. Now, these beans are growing fast, and it's going to change quickly how much cover that we have. But this is why early planting is so critically important. If you've been around my channel for any length of time, you'll know that I love planting beans early. In fact, so much so that we have done some March planted soybeans here in Michigan before. We didn't get any this year, but last year we did some, and I've done them in the past before that. And the reason is because it helps us get canopy closure quicker. We want these beans to be as big as possible on June 21st to soak up as much sun as possible. The amount of daylight that we get now in June compared to the day length and daylight that we accumulate in September is drastically different. So today, here where we are at, we're going to accumulate 15 hours and 12 minutes of sunlight. That's the most sunlight we get in a day at our location. Tomorrow we lose 1 second. We're 1 second shorter tomorrow than today. But if you compare it to September 20th, it's 12 hours and 11 minutes. We're essentially 3 hours less daylight per day in September. And that's why capturing it now is so critically important. It's also why we like our 15-inch rows or going to narrower rows. The later you plant is better because you just don't have time to get to that canopy. Now, these beans are going to grow fast. I would say within a week, 2 weeks, we'll be completely canopied or 90% canopied, and they'll be just fine. This is the first planted field of beans that we have. So these were, well, I shouldn't say that. They were planted the first day. I planted some 30-inch row beans down the road. These were planted the same day in 15-inch row beans. So they're the most canopied of any beans that we have. And they look good. They're growing. But the other thing that we really want to see on June 21st or June 20th, whatever day the solstice is for them to be starting to flower, beginning bloom. I'd really love to see it earlier. I didn't find any earlier, but I'm going to look real hard and see if we can't find any blossoms out here, because what that means is that now all that energy that we're creating and capturing from the sunlight can go directly into the reproductive stages, and we can go into setting pods and starting to fill these beans out. So as we look at these plants, we'll do a growth stage here on one just to see where we're at. Here is our unifoliate leaves, and then you're looking at, there's trifoliates coming off of them, but those are branches. They're not main plant or main trifoliates. So here, this is sort of hard with all these other ones. Here would be our first set, right here, second, third, fourth, fifth, and we're working on number 6. This would be a V5 soybean because we don't see any blooms yet. Let me look around. I'm gonna find one, darn it. Sidebar in our quest for flowers. So I pulled up a plant, and first thing we see is really good root system, lots of root nodules producing nitrogen. That is a good thing. But do you see on the bottom of this stem right here, we've got this purple color? Now you may be tempted to say that looks like that bean is starting to rot or something's wrong with its stem. No, that is genetic. When you see purple on the base of a stem like that, it's genetic, and it means that we're looking for purple flowers. This variety has purple flowers. Some are purple, some are white. I think occasionally you might see pink, but if you have a green stem, it's going to be white flowers. If you have a purple stem, purple flowers. So that's what we're looking for. We're going to find one. Do you see it? There it is. I found one. There is our purple flower. We made it. Barely. There's not a lot. I had to look pretty hard to find that one. But I found a flower on June 20th, so that makes me happy. It's a pretty good plant, though. They're going to grow fast. They look good. So, any questions on soybeans? There's our flower. Now, we've got plenty of moisture, as you can see here. We had some rain a couple days ago, and it's still drying off on top, so they've got plenty of moisture to grow. We aren't getting the sunshine today that I had hoped for, but it's supposed to tomorrow, and this weekend is going to be brutally hot, at least miserable for us, but it's going to be humid, and the plants are going to grow, and I think that it's going to make a big difference here in the next week on what things look like. I see a dead one here. I wonder what we got going on here. Some kind of disease got this one. Yeah. I'd have to do some analysis to figure out what disease, whether that's brown stem rot. That root and stem is pretty rotted below ground. If it's some Phytophthora, I don't know. Anyway, we got a dead plant. So, that's what we know on soybeans. Hey, if you guys enjoy this kind of agronomy content and stuff, you need to go check out my buddy Wade's YouTube channel that he just started this spring. So Wade is my agronomist with Golden Harvest, and he is very, very good at his job. He started branching out and making some YouTube content, as well as other social media stuff. I think it's Wade Looker Agronomy is the YouTube channel. I will try and remember to link it down below. If it's not there, make a comment and I will add it. But go give him a follow. Check out his content. He does a fantastic job. Just to prove how good Wade is, I sent him a short video clip of my dead plant in that field that I found. And he immediately said it's probably Phytophthora. Seen a bunch of it in Indiana, I guess. So, yeah. Probably what we got there. Shouldn't be too much of a cause for concern if it's not too much of it. But I don't like it. Now, as far as actual work today, farm work, we're going to get my injection pump set up here. Got a little work to do to that. This is the pump that I use to inject fertilizer into the irrigation water line. And I was looking at it yesterday. It needs a fitting. There's a fitting that's broken. We need to go through it and just make sure everything is working right and it's set up, and then figure out how we're going to get that set up at the irrigated field up there. Yeah. If it gets as hot and stuff as they say it's going to, I know we've got some rain and we don't need the water right now, but we might start it up tomorrow anyway if it's dry enough to get across the field, just to get ahead of stuff. So this is our pump here, and we've had this for a long time. It's just a piston pump. Goes back and forth as this spins in order to pump whatever products you want through it into the injection line. So this goes onto our fertilizer injector that we have up on the pipe up there. And there's a slide here that changes how many gallons per hour it is pumping. So there's that. This is the outlet. This is the inlet. And our fitting in there is broken. So I was going to try and get that out of there, but now I'm looking at, I think we're just going to take that white piece off. Put a whole new piece on from there out. That seems to be the most logical thing to do. I am not finding any of the fittings that I need. I'm trying to, I need a hose barb to go in there. I need a little bit of some 3/4 inch hose. I found a strainer and a one hose barb for that, but I don't have the right size mesh filter. We've got some fine ones, but my experience is they plug up and then you don't get fertilizer, and so I want something a little bit coarser. And then I need to get that up to a 2-inch cam lock to be able to just hook right to our nurse tank is the idea. And I don't have the right fittings for it. So I'm going to run and grab those. There's a place about 6-7 miles from here that carries all kinds of this stuff. And they may not have exactly the pieces that I need, but they will have some combination of the pieces that I need to make it work. Well, like I said when I left, they may not have the exact fitting, but they will have the fittings to make it work. So I needed a 1/2 inch threaded, male thread, to 3/4 inch hose barb fitting, which according to the banjo book exists. They didn't have it, but they had this. We got a 1/2 inch nipple, we got a 1/2 to 3/4 reducer bushing, and we got a 3/4 inch female threads with a hose barb. So that'll work. So that's gonna go in our pump right there. Assuming I can get it lined up and started. We got to get some thread sealer on there. Okay, and then we're going to come out of there with our hose, 3/4 inch suction hose. And I decided we probably should have a strainer in here. So we're going to come out to that hose bar, which I already had. And then on this side, we need to be able to hook up to our 2-inch cam lock. Female, this one needs to be male. So we've got a 3/4 inch nipple, 3/4 to 2 inch, or 2 inch to 3/4 reducer bushing with female cam lock. So we got all the pieces. We just need some tape, dope, put them all together, good to go. Well, that fitting right in there is guaranteed to break at some point. I probably, maybe, should put the strainer on the pressure side, but I didn't really want any contaminants and dirt and stuff getting in the pump where it's going to wear out that piston, so I don't know. I'll leave it on the suction side for now, and all I got to do is connect those two pieces. It'll be fine. Everything is connected. I attempted to fill the hose and prime it. Let's plug it in and test it. Okay, it spins. Give it a minute, see if it sucks anything through there and pumps it out the other end. Oh yeah, right there. I had it hanging down. Let's see. I see air bubbles moving through our hose over there, so it's going. Take it a second to prime it. There you go. It's not very fast, but it's working. It's set at like 18 gallons per hour right now, something like that. And it will do it under pressure. Probably not with my thumb pressure, but it's got to pump it into the main line that's running 120, 130 pounds. So there we go. Good enough. All right, well, that can go, we can put this cover plate back on, and then this can go up to the irrigated field. And I've been thinking about setting a tank up there to hold some fertilizer so I don't have to leave my nurse tank sit there all the time, but I don't really need to. It'll hook right to this, so We'll see. Well, guys, I'm going home. It's Friday. Have a great weekend. I don't plan on working this weekend. It is baseball tournament weekend. So we have our first game tonight, we meaning my boys, at 6:30. And if they win, they play again tomorrow at noon when it's 90 plus degrees out. And then if they win that, they play at 2. And if they win that, they play at 4. And that sounds brutal. We'll see how tonight goes first. Anyway, yeah. Have a great night. Have a great weekend. Thanks for watching. If you have any questions or comments, leave them down below. Don't forget to subscribe. Head on over to Farm Focus. Grab yourself a Best RX t-shirt from me. Would appreciate that. And we'll see you guys next week, I think. Yeah.